Welcome to the 44th installment of ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. I'm your host, Tiff Wells. With me today, he's the former UH men's volleyball libero. You remember him wearing jersey number 1. He's now the newest member of the women's volleyball coaching staff, Rainbow Wahine assistant coach Nick Castello. Nick, coach, welcome to Talk Story.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Stoked to be here and talk story with you, my friend.
Thanks for joining us, coach. Now, first off, I say the title Rainbow Wahine Volleyball Assistant Coach. Has this title, has this job, has it sunk in yet?
It's slowly getting there. It's funny. I was joking around with Robin the day that I left California. We're on the phone and we're just kind of getting stoked, me leaving, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I finally get a coach in." And I was telling her, like, "Yeah, people have been asking me, how do you feel?" I'm like, "I don't really know. I don't really know." And she said, "Trust me, once you sit down in your office, you're going to start to sink it in." And definitely that was the case. And then, and the office starts to sink in, but it really started to sink in yesterday morning when we walked into the gym and you start to really see the girls and start to work with the girls. And it's definitely starting to sink in. A little bit weird still, but it's nice.
Officially hired a few days ago, I believe it was August 5th. And correct me if I'm wrong here, but you were actually on the beach in California in Manhattan Beach, part of that premier 6-man beach tournament. You get a phone call from Coach Robin. Take us through those moments where she called you and offered you the job, and how long did it take for you, to tell her, yes, I want to be your assistant?
I mean, not that long. It was kind of just like, all right, what are you doing now? This and that. Would you like to come back home and coach? I was like, yeah, come on now. I had a blast when I was volunteering for their first 2 seasons. So, to get the opportunity to come back and especially to be able to come back and, join her staff and join in with Kaleo. Some of the pieces of the band aren't here from that original staff, but, we're kind of bringing it back together. So, I was super fired up, and that was a very easy answer for me when she asked that question.
You mentioned being a part of her first staff from 2017 through the 2018 season as the volunteer coach. You went through the program on the men's side. You were the starting libero for 2 years. We had a fan ask, what does it mean to now wear the H once again?
Any opportunity you can wear that H, it means a lot. Obviously, first being as a player, that's just like a dream come true for me. I grew up, I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' house, and the routine was you watch Friends, and then right after that, it was just whatever season it was, whether it was volleyball, basketball, baseball, softball. We're just watching UH sports. So, I grew up a huge fan of the home team, and, it was one thing to be able to wear that H as a player. I felt, extremely, honored and grateful to be able to do that, have that opportunity, but to be able to come back now as a coach, it's just, it's another dream come true, just another, facet of life. You know what I mean?
So take us back to last week. You have the call with Coach Robin. You tell her, yes, I'm taking the job. You hang up. Who's the first person you called to say, hey, I'm coming back to Hawaii and I'm going to be an assistant coach for Robin Amo?
Well, 2 people were with me, my cousin. So he kind of found that out first. And then, which I'm stoked because, he's like a brother to me. Nate. Yeah. And Emily Hartong, I was actually with her. So, that was just another special one because that girl's like a sister to me. And, she has Hawaii ties and she knows Robin as well. And she was kind of in the background chirping, hi, Robin, and everything like that. I was like, okay, let me take this phone call. But, I was just stoked because, I love both those people and, it's cool to share that with them. And then after that, you call the parents, which, my parents were very fired up for me as well. And then, how it works, Coconut Wireless. The minute I told my mom, about 10 seconds later, I started hearing it from everybody else. I was like, oh, that's how that works. So, but yeah, those were the first initial people, cousin, Hartong's in the room. And then it goes straight to the parents.
Now, this may be a little bit different because we see associate head coach. Of course, we all know what the head coach does. We see assistant coach. You were your volunteer coach for a couple of years. What all did you get to do?
Robin made very clear when she asked me that question, which was another kind of thing. I got a call randomly when I was driving somewhere, like, hey, would you like to be my volunteer? I was like, yeah. And it was basically I just needed an arm. So I was like, okay. And I found that to be very literal after my first training that morning. And going into the second training, I'm over here with Renee, just like, hey, can you rehab my shoulder? Like it was about to fall off. But I mean, that's just, her style of training is a lot of reps. And, she did warn me like, hey, I need your arm. So, I mean, it was a lot of that. And then going from there, it was just a lot of hands-on. I mean, the thing about Robin is she doesn't care if you're her associate, her second, volunteer, whatever. She trusts everybody she puts on her staff, and she gives everybody the green light and liberty to, share the knowledge they have and do whatever they have. And, if you have an idea, she's like, yeah, let's go with it. You know what I mean? It's like, really? Like, yeah, let's go with it. So, I mean, it's super grateful to have that opportunity with her. And then, of course, I had a lot of playing opportunities, which is very fun to do on a girls' net. And it was just weird with the players we had. We had a couple of injuries, so I had to kind of step in and set a couple times in practices and whatnot. But it was basically just, whatever she needed me to do, I was open and willing to do it. But it was a lot of just hands-on in the court stuff, which is, for me, is the fun stuff. I got to come in, work for 3 hours and just do volleyball for 3 hours with a cool group of girls, cool staff. And then the cool thing about that was when everybody went upstairs to do all the behind the scenes stuff, I got to just, all right, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Now it's a little bit different. Now I don't get to just do that. But it's also fun. It's also fun.
You've given a lot of credit to head coach Robin Amo, but there's also somebody that you like to give credit to. And that, of course, is former Rainbow Warrior great on the volleyball side, Tom Pestalacci, who's been the longtime Irvine Valley coach. You played there, you coached there for a couple of years. How instrumental has he been in your development? And when you told him you were coming back on staff officially as the assistant coach, what was his reaction?
Well, first and foremost, I mean, I have nothing but love and respect for that man. When I was a freshman in college, I originally went to Graceland and I just wasn't feeling it. And I needed a kind of a second start. And he was that guy that gave me that. And I started learning a bunch of stuff, not only about the game of volleyball, but more so just about life in general from that guy from day one. And he's been, a huge, mentor in my life and someone that I go to, whether it's, something about volleyball or life in general. He's just, someone you can talk to. He's fun to play golf with as well. And yeah, I mean, I love that guy. And to be able to go back there as a coach, I mean, I've been kind of saying it a lot recently, but I was super fortunate and grateful to kind of go full circle. I got to play for IVC, and then I got to come back and coach for IVC, and it just so happened to be his last year coaching the indoor program. So for me, that was a special feeling. And then of course, I mean, I look at that guy like he's a father figure to me. So I'm talking about the people that I call first. He's definitely in that list, and I call him and I tell him, and he's someone that's always stoked for me in general. But like, if I got any job, he'd be stoked. But the fact that I get to come back home and he has ties here too, he knows, how big that is and everything like that. So he was very, he's a very happy man when I gave him that phone call.
We've talked about IVC. We've talked about being a volunteer coach here at UH and then coming back full circle to now be an assistant. And someone else who has done basically everything that you did was Kaleo Baxter. Now, the other assistant coach has been here for a few years now. A fan wanted to ask, though, both of you guys were liberos. Who's the better libero of the two?
You can have that fan ask Kaleo next time he sees him, who's the dig record at IVC? He'll fight that and say that he has one more than me because it was in a 4-set match. I got mine in 5, sorry, but numbers are numbers. So, no, I mean, I learned a lot from Kaleo. He was my starting outside hitter in club volleyball my sophomore and junior year. So I was able to learn, come up with this game and learn the game with him. And then after that, he, as a player at IBC, when I transferred in as a freshman, he was their guy. And I came in and I redshirted and I was just soaking up as much as I could. At the time, I wasn't a libero, but still, I mean, he's a player that's just so fun to watch and such a great teammate. You know what I mean? There's so much things that you can pull from that guy. And, I tried to just absorb as much as I could. And then when he left, I just tried to, there's some big shoes to fill. So I tried my best to do so. Just to see him, what he's done with his coaching career. I mean, I wasn't surprised with that. I mean, he has a good volley IQ and a good mind, and he's really good with the girls in the gym, and he's phenomenal with everything else. That guy's definitely going to be a head coach someday. But yeah, I got nothing for love and respect for that guy. But yeah,
Born and
let him know that I have more digs than him. You can let him know.
I'll let him know next time I'm allowed into practice. We'll let him know. You're born and raised in the state. You're a graduate of Asset School. When I say that every one of the coaches, and I'm talking about Coach Robin, yourself, Coach Castello, and also the ops director, Faith Ma'afali, you all are born and raised in the state. What does it mean? How special is it that the Wahine volleyball coaching staff can all say they are born and raised in the state?
I think it's something that's truly special. I mean, and even with someone like Ange, who maybe wasn't born here, but she got to experience the program. Anybody, even looking from the outside in, you can tell it's a very special program. But to be born and raised here and to really understand, the magnitude that this program has on the community, you feel that. Like I said, I grew up watching University of Hawaii athletics, and you just get this sense of pride cheering for the home team. That we don't have no professional team. Like, that's our team. So, I mean, you love them. It doesn't matter if they're winning and they're losing. Like, that's your team. And I think once you understand that, and I mean, I was a prime example of that. I feel like everybody that you've named is an example of looking at the people that came before us. And those are the athletes that we looked up to. You know what I mean? Like, I remember watching athletes play and just little things that they did. I'd go home and try to reenact what they did. And like, they gave me the stoke to get involved in this game. And, without them, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I can't speak for the rest of the staff, but I'm sure that they had those moments as well when they were growing up, watching the people that came before them that just kind of, provided them that little bit of a push in that direction. And, for me, like, Robin's one of those players, watching her play, I mean, and just seeing what she did with her career, it's just, something truly special. But yeah, you definitely feel that tie to the program being from here. And the fact that everybody on staff shares that tie, it just makes it that much more special.
All right. Well, we'll take our break right here, Nick. So stay right there, along with former libero from UH Men's Volleyball, now women's assistant head coach, Nick Castello. I'm Tiff Wells. You're listening to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Top Story. Welcome back to ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. I'm Tiff Wells. We're here with former UH Men's Volleyball libero, now the women's volleyball assistant coach, Nick Castello. Now, Nick, we're in the middle of fall camp. We're recording this on a Tuesday. It began yesterday. 6 a.m. workout. As a player, now as a coach, was it hard to wake up for it?
Yes and no. I mean, like, we just started yesterday. So that first day, and people have been giving me they've been kind of taking stabs at me, but I've just been like a little kid. It's like Christmas, you know what I mean? And especially as a player, usually that first day comes with maybe getting some gear or whatnot, but it's just, you haven't played in a while, especially for these girls. Like, they had something taken away from them for a whole year, Big West, Ivy League. I can't remember any other conferences, but they did not play for a year. So there's a lot of angst coming into the gym. Like, they're hungry, you know what I mean? And that just comes off to the staff as well. So as a player, yeah, you're excited coming in, even though it's at 6 a.m. As a coach, this year was a little bit hard. I mean, we all texted each other, the staff, around like 8 o'clock saying, all right, like, going to sleep kind of thing. And it was one of those things where I just laid in bed for an hour and just, I'm just ready to get up. I got up like 10 minutes before my alarm woke up and got in the gym, and you're just trying to bring energy to the girls. But we get in there and they're already warmed up, ready to go, sweating, just like, all right, like, ready to go. What do you guys want us to do? So, I mean, to see that when you walk in the gym, it just fires you up, you know what I mean? But we're all very excited, and it's cool that we're able to share all that. And it's just 6 a.m. is 6 a.m., you know what I mean? We're going to work. I think the group understands that, hey, we're trying to get 2 sessions in, and if it's 6 a.m., it's 6 a.m. If you want us to come in at 5 a.m., it's 5 a.m., you know what I mean? I think this group is ready to go to work, and they have some goals to get. And like I said, they're hungry, you know what I mean? They had something taken away from them last year, so they're looking to get after it. And we're stoked that we have the girls that we have, and collectively we're trying to make a run for sure.
If any of the players came up to you or Coach Castello, because you guys have gone through your playing days, you went through 2-a-days, you went through a fall camp, or in your case, on the men's side, you went through, I guess, spring camp or winter camp or whatever you want to call it. You guys went through a camp, basically.
Yeah.
If they come to you and ask, how do you take care of yourself, in between those practices during double days, what kind of suggestions are you giving them?
it's take advantage of your off time. You know what I mean? Luckily for me, I was a libero, so I'm not jumping and all that stuff, but still you want to save your legs. It's not like you're trying to jet to the beach in between sessions and then come back and then try to do that. It's 2 weeks of 2-a-days. You know what I mean? You can have that energy for the first week or half week, whatever, but you got to think, all right, next week we're at it again. So it's a matter of staying present and taking one session at a time, one day at a time. But at the end of the day, you also think long-term, like, all right, like next week, how's my body going to feel? So any opportunity you have to rest and recover, take advantage of those opportunities. And, you know, we have a great training staff. Renee's doing a great job, you know, getting their bodies good to go. They're getting in the ice tub. They have a nice schedule, especially after that second training. So, I mean, we're just lucky to have all that support and, you know, the facilities that we have. So, I mean, that makes it a lot easier, but that's definitely the message that we're preaching is take advantage of your off time, rest your legs, rest your body, you're ready to go.
Your main background, of course, is in the back row as a libero, as a defensive specialist. So you may see that group, or you may look at that group possibly a little bit more than the other groups, but you're looking at everybody, you know, in general now that you're an assistant. But when you look at the back row, when you look at the liberos, the defensive specialists, what have you liked so far?
I like they're pretty consistent. They're all kind of right there. You know what I mean? Which is good because I like having in any position, I like the depth. I like when you can have people in your gym pushing each other to be better every day, that competitiveness. And I think we have that in the libero position. And it's interesting because you have 2 upperclassmen and then 1 underclassman, freshman Taylor coming in. So it's a good balance, you know what I mean? But I mean, even Taylor coming as a freshman, you know, she's doing a lot of good things out there and she's pushing the upperclassmen to kind of stay on their game. And the upperclassmen are also, you know, teaching Taylor, and it's just a nice flow and a nice balance. But they've been pretty consistent. I like their energy. I'm looking forward to see, you know, who wants to take the torch and run with it.
We all know how good you were at volleyball, but in your heyday at Assets, you were quite the basketball player. What was your first love, basketball or volleyball?
Oh, it was basketball. Yeah, I was one of those, like a lot of other Hawaii athletes. I was like, yeah, I want to go to college and play basketball. And then didn't really think about it too much. We're like, all right, 5'8". Yeah, I probably can't go and play basketball at the next level. I can get away with it by playing Div 2 basketball against, you know, other people my size. But yeah, I mean, I always liked basketball. I actually like baseball as well. Like volleyball was kind of like the last thing on my plate. And then as I got older, you know, you start to play more club stuff and then you have to try to, you know, eliminate some stuff. So baseball is the first to go. And then I tried to hold on to basketball as long as I could. And then I was like, all right, I got to let that go. And then volleyball kind of took over. But I mean, I still kind of look at basketball as my favorite sport to play. I mean, I still love playing volleyball, of course. But yeah, I guess I'd have to say basketball on that one.
Went to Assets. They didn't officially sponsor boys volleyball. So you played over at Marino. One of those players that also had that experience was a former Olympian that you got to watch. One of your good brothers did very well. Last minute substitution on the beach scene over in Tokyo. We're talking about Triborn. How cool was it for you to watch one of your really good friends? We all know the situation with Taylor Crab, but how cool was it seeing your boy on the beach in Tokyo?
I mean, I was just extremely – it was a weird one because it's a bittersweet thing because, you know, I love Taylor and he deserved to be there and just, you know, the circumstances and everything, you know, that got tripped away. So you feel for him. But then it's a weird thing because then right after that, you get over that. It's just like, okay, well, now my best friend gets to play. And, you know, in my opinion, there's no one that deserves it more. I mean, that guy's put in the work, he's grinded, and he's just had a lot of unfortunate things handed to him in life, the autoimmune disease. And, you know, he was one of the best teams in the world right before he got that autoimmune disease. And then, oh yeah, like, sorry, country quota, you don't make the Olympics. It's like, okay. And then he gears up again, gets over the autoimmune disease, gets so close. Him and Trevor were so close. And then, oh, sorry, you don't make it again. So, I mean, that's a lot to endure right there. And then to kind of like just mentally like, all right, 2021's out or 2020 is out. Now I got to gear for 2024. And then you get a phone call saying, hey, you're back in for 2020. It's like, so, I mean, it's a cool roller coaster that he got to experience. I'm just stoked that that guy was able to get that opportunity. And, you know, he did his thing, led the Olympics in hitting percentage as an alternate. So, I mean, the proof's in the pudding. That guy puts in the work, and I'm glad that he got his opportunity and, he did his thing.
You went to IVC for a couple of years. You came back here to UH. See if you remember this date. January 13th, 2011. You guys are playing Ball State. What do you remember about your first collegiate start?
Man, I remember the day before, I was just a bunch of emotions. I was nervous. I even had like a little bit of just like, man, I don't know. And then I just started to breathe and settle down. I had some people, especially some upperclassmen, just kind of settle me in. Josh Walker was a huge guy that just like, hey, like, you got this, you know what I mean? And kind of gave me some confidence and going into that match. And also as well, okay, so I remember I checked in and I go through the first rotation, I come out. And I guess I did something that stoked Robin. But I remember because Robin was our GA that year. And Robin is the first coach to come up to me after I exit the court. And she gets in my face. She's like, hey, let's go. Like, fires me up. I'm just like, oh, I can do this. Okay. Like, I just made a 3-time Olympian stoked. Like, all right, we're good. We're good. I think we got swept that night, but it was a cool experience to, just to get that opportunity. I mean, it's one thing to practice in the stand, but to play a match with people in it, it's just a whole nother, it's a whole nother environment. I mean, hearing the national anthem, it's just, you get the goosebumps feeling, and there's that first serve. You don't know what's really going to happen, but once you touch that ball first, it was fun. It went by quick though. That's for sure. Went by quick.
You mentioned Josh, and we're talking about Josh Walker. Now he's the assistant coach on the men's side. And of course, one of your other former teammates was one of the alternates on the U.S. men's national team on the indoor side in Taylor Averill. Did you see Taylor having this type of success? Because he came in as a setter and then an opposite, and now he's a world-class middle. Did you see this sort of transformation with Taylor when you first saw him?
When I first saw him, I was confused because I heard that he was a setter, and then that's my senior year. Every set in a match, I believe that guy played a different position besides middle. He played everything but middle and then lip. But what I knew that he was going to make that transition and do what he's doing now is when I saw him after he got his surgery and after the off season. Once he started working, I mean, I was also working out. He started working out with him before, but Daniel Marchong, just putting in that work. And then when I saw what he was doing and I saw him transform, and then I started working with Daniel and kind of getting in the mix there, and just that day-to-day of what they do, I was just like, oh, like, this guy's committed and has that work ethic. And you see what he's doing now with it. I mean, he's definitely put his body in a position to sign good contracts, to be playing good volleyball. And he always had that, it's like a little kid. He always had that curiosity. He just wanted to absorb and soak up as much as he can, from the volleyball standpoint, from the working out standpoint, to the diet, like all that stuff. He always had that curiosity. And I think that right there is what has got him to the level that he's at right now. So, I mean, if you're asking me if I'm surprised, no, because I mean, he just has that creative mind that's just like, yeah, like, I'm stoked that he's there, and I'm not surprised that he got to where he is now.
After that 2012 season, your last as a Rainbow Warrior, you went on to play professionally. Where all did you get to play overseas?
So I signed my first contract in Czech Republic, VK Ostrava, which, funny, it was Tony Ching's first club as well. So I'm walking down the hall and I see this pictures of Tony Ching, because when he was there, that was the last time that club won Czech Extraliga. So Tony was like a god in Czech, and just being the Hawaii guy. And I love Tony. I was just seeing him like, what? Like, Tony was a god. Like, I'm stoked that I get to be like a part of that club as well. And then after that, I went to Volleyball Brno for 2 years. And then, in that time period, we got to travel. I mean, different thing. My first year, we were in Champions League, which allowed us to travel. We went to Russia, Greece, Belgium. Year after that, we went to Istanbul, which is a very cool place. I mean, that's just the cool thing about volleyball. I mean, I've gotten to go to a lot of cool places, and if it wasn't for this game, I probably would not have gone to those places. So, I mean, I have a lot of gratitude to the game, and just very stoked for the opportunities that it's given me.
You've talked about how special it was being a former men's volleyball player, being a libero. How special was it for you? And more importantly, where were you this past May when UH not only won the national championship, but swept arch rival BYU in the process?
I mean, That was amazing to see. I was bummed. We fell short against Long Beach those 2 years. I really wanted Joe to get one his senior year with that group. That was a special group right there. And I was at that national championship match at the Pyramid. That was a tough one to swallow, but you knew the team was going to be good. And then with the whole, COVID year, you didn't know who's coming back, and you find out that they're all coming back. I mean, as an alum, I was just like, all right, we can get this. We can get this. But yeah, I was with some UH fans that day, so we were very stoked and proud alums. And just to see them do it how they did, I mean, I think it was not so much that they won, but I think they kind of made an exclamation. I mean, me being biased, obviously, it's just like, to me, that's where that national championship belongs. I mean, it belongs in Manoa. Actually, Charlie, my first day, he said, "Come to my office." He's like, "What do you want, a shirt or a hat?" And I went with the hat. And he was like, "Yeah, proud alum right here." I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm very stoked for them. I'm very stoked for the boys." And, I've been able to talk to some of them, not all of them, but some of them. I'm just, proud alum. I'm stoked that they were able to do what they did and represent Hawaii the right way, and just more so just give this to Hawaii. I mean, I think they were due. Hawaii was due for one of these, and 2002 or 2002, yeah, that's when we got one and then kind of tripped away. So I mean, now this one's on paper, and we're gonna be putting a banner up there. So I mean, super stoked for that program and the boys to be able to share that and bring that back to Hawaii.
Right behind that hat, I'm not sure when people watch this if they can see it, but right behind where you picked up that hat, there's some stained glass. Now, tell us about Castello Glassworks, and say if someone wanted to know more, possibly maybe put it in order for a piece, how would they go about doing this?
Yeah, so my dad has been doing stained glass for like 40 plus years. And I was in California, and I came back right before like quarantine went down, like into effect. And I got back and, a lot of free time. So like, "Dad, let me teach me this." He taught me it. And this was actually my first piece. I don't know if you guys can see, but it's a kalo leaf. Sorry. It's attached to, that's not coming down. It's attached to that, but it's a kalo leaf. That was my first piece. And from after that first piece, I just fell in love with the whole craft, and I started getting into it a little bit more. And then, me being that like new generation, kind of like, "Hey, Dad, let's start like a little like business kind of thing." Like, "No, like we just make it for our own, blah, blah, blah." I was like, "Oh, let's just make something." I created just an Instagram account and Castello Glassworks, and both me and him, we just kind of do our thing and, put it on there. And it's funny because every time I post something, now people are asking me like, "Oh, like, can I get this, or can you make me this?" And it's like, all right, I have like 10 other people that are doing that, and I don't do this as a full-time job. So, I mean, I love doing it, but I love coaching a little bit more. So, yeah, but if you have Instagram, you can follow us on Castello Glassworks. Please send us a message, and we'd love to make something for you. But yeah, my dad will be taking more of those orders now. I'm a little, hands are tied a little bit right now.
Last one here for your coach. We know time is precious as you guys have the second practice of the day coming up in just a little bit, but we all know not only with the 6 a.m. workouts, double days, that caffeine really fuels you guys. And between yourself, ops director Faith Ma'afala, and also Coach Kaleo Baxter, you guys all love your coffee. Now, being the new guy, have you had to bring the coffee to a practice as you tap your mug right there? Have you had to bring the coffee to a practice or to a meeting? And more importantly, do you know the orders of all the coaches and what they want?
Luckily, I have not had to do that yet. Everyone's been bringing their own coffee, but I know that on the road it changes because Kaleo loves Starbucks, and that's like every time we leave the hotel. Well, that was different too because I was a volunteer, not making any money, so he would be buying me. But I know that's going to change when we go on our first road trip, and I'll definitely make sure that I go and buy him. So I'll be on coffee duty. And that guy has a kind of complicated order, so I'm going to have to take notes and get that one down. I'm just simple. Just give me a regular coffee, put some cream in it, we're good to go. But, yeah, the coffee definitely keeps us going. I had to replace it because Ange left, and she had a coffee maker in her office, and she's all about her coffee, so it's only suiting that another coffee connoisseur comes into the position. It's a little new. I haven't really set up my office, but that's definitely an addition that I'll be putting in so we can have some fresh cups of coffee here throughout the day.
Last one here for your coach. August 27th, the Hawaiian Airlines Rainbow Wahine Classic, the opener for you guys against Fairfield. How you mentioned the word stoked many times. You said it's like Christmas. How special is opening night going to be for Rainbow Wahine Volleyball? Because we haven't seen them since the Madison Regional back in 2019, back in December.
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a lot of emotions that night. People are going to be excited. And then, we have some new players. You're going to be a little bit nervous. It's going to be a whole bunch of emotions. But, I mean, if you're an athlete and you don't have, those butterflies going and those nerves, then, maybe you should try something else. So I'm looking forward to those feelings. I look forward to that nervousness before a match. And like I said, I mean, this program hasn't played, like you said as well, like they haven't played in a whole year. So it's going to be a fun night. And you can already tell in the gym, these girls are hungry, and I think they're going to go and feast on the buffet come night of the 27th, and then, get rid of that. And then we got to gear up for the 28th and then do it again on the 29th. So we're just looking forward to playing. I mean, this group, we're doing a lot of reps right now, and I know that they're eager to compete. And it's one thing when you start to compete against your own team, but once you throw somebody else on the other side, it's a whole other story. So I know that they're looking forward to that. The coaching staff is looking forward to that. And we're just looking to put on a good show for the fans, because we know that they've missed Wahine volleyball as well. So I think everybody in general is kind of looking into it, and we're going to feel that energy from the fans. And we're just going to go to work. It's going to be one game at a time. That starts the process. But our end game is to be playing December 2nd, the 4th, and then just to keep that ball rolling. And then hopefully on the 18th of December, we get a chance to play as well. So it starts with the 27th. It's a long journey. But yeah, we're hungry and excited to get going.
Coach, we see the excitement, we hear the excitement, not just from you, but also from the players and what we've seen so far at practice. Thank you so much for the time. Welcome back to UH Volleyball. And most importantly, thanks again for joining us. Best of luck this season.
Thank you. Thank you, Tiff. Thank you.
For Coach Nick, as well as the rest of us here at ESPN Honolulu, I'm Tiff Wells saying thank you so much for joining us here on the 44th edition of ESPN Honolulu Fan Friday Talk Story. Until next time, wear that mask, stay safe, and be socially distant.